Hello, I'm Katrina from Unity of New Orleans. Welcome to our Sunday satsang. Satsang means to be in the company of truth, and we welcome you today. Let us begin with our invocation written by Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore. We are now in the presence of pure being and immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. We acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit. In thy divine wisdom, now erase our mortal limitations, and from thy pure substance of love, bring into manifestation our world according to thy perfect law. And bring your awareness to your heart center as we say the Lord's Prayer with reverence. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Now we have just passed through the season of Lent, which is all in preparation for Easter. And we at Unity understand that this cycle, this event called Easter, is a metaphysical dying process so that we can rebirth anew. Easter represents a peak experience, a heightened sense of self, wherein we have resurrected as the Christ consciousness, the Buddha nature, or the higher self within. But what happens when this supreme event is over? How do we access a continuously elevated state of being so that we can rise above the fluctuations of life? Modern science, ancient sages, and the Fillmores all taught how to cultivate optimal states for self-mastery. Charles Fillmore gleaned his ideas from yoga, science, spiritualism, theosophy, mind cure, Greek philosophy, and the transcendentalists. And Unity is, of course, the largest New Thought organization where we celebrate all paths that lead to God. Our purpose here is to teach truth, and truth is universal, eternal, and absolute. And we emphasize how these spiritual truths are practical and life-changing. So for today's lesson, we're going to bridge science and spirit. And this is very much in alignment with Charles's philosophy. In fact, he anticipated and promoted harmony between science and religion, and even challenged fundamental Christianity when he said, the proven facts of scientific research and discovery have bit by bit broken down the wall of narrow dogmatic assumptions reared by Christianity. So today we're going to explore the sciences of psychology and neuroscience as they relate to this spiritual lesson. The unity principle is the cultivation and maintenance of a higher consciousness, which is the metaphysical Christ principle, resurrected in you at Easter. Now, Myrtle Fillmore wrote in her book, How to Let God Help You, we are on the threshold of a new heaven and a new earth, a new consciousness. We are turning from the world of the outer and are coming into the wonderful place which is called the secret place of Most High. Jesus, whom we revere as a teacher and way shower, referred to this secret place as the inner chamber when he said in Matthew, when you pray, enter into your inner chamber And having shut the door, pray to the Father who is in secret. And Myrtle said, we do this in the consciousness of the Father's presence within. And at unity, we understand the Father to represent the principle of understanding, illumination, and wisdom. Now, in the East, as in the science of yoga, the Father is consciousness, and the Mother represents the divine energy. The dance of consciousness and energy brings forth everything into manifestation in life. So Myrtle goes on to say, as we enter, we close the doors of the outer senses and get away from the whirl of material activities. We feel a divine calmness. We gain understanding of ourselves. So the new heaven and the new earth is a state of consciousness, according to the Fillmores. And we cultivate that state by turning away from the outer distractions and spending time in the inner chamber. Charles advised that involution always precedes evolution. So we must go within in order to evolve, grow, expand, and transform outwardly. He said, that which is involved in mind evolves through matter in the 12 powers of man. And he went on to say, in Keep a True Lent, the architect plans a house and sees it finished in his mind before a single stone is laid or a pound of earth excavated. He can change his plan many times before the construction commences. He can destroy it entirely if he so desires. So man builds the house of his consciousness. And Charles taught that involution is the existence of everything in an invisible or potential form. Evolution is the process of the transformation from the invisible, intangible potential into expression and greater manifestation. And this is especially true of the evolution of humans, which is the subject of metaphysics. It is also true concerning all of our efforts to create. Involution always precedes evolution. So at Easter, we focus our consciousness on an internal resurrection process, the rising in the awareness of the Christ or Buddha within. And while we only celebrate Easter once a year, this experience of ascension in consciousness or heaven on earth can be cultivated and replicated consistently. Unity teaches principles of truth and emphasizes that we have to make these teachings practical and exercise them in our lives in order to evolve as spiritual beings. And that is how we spread our wings and learn to fly. Now, an event like Easter can be called a peak experience. A peak experience is often described as transcendent moments of pure joy and elation. And this concept was originally developed by American psychologist Abraham Maslow. In Maslow's famous hierarchy of needs pyramid, self-actualization is located at the very top, representing the priority of fulfilling one's potential. According to Maslow, peak experiences play a very important role in self-actualization, and feeling self-fulfilled is paramount, held above our basic needs for survival. Peak experiences are moments that stand out from mundane events, and people often liken them to spiritual experiences. They involve a heightened sense of wonder, awe, oneness, or ecstasy, a highly valued experience which is characterized by an intensity of perception, depth of feeling, or a sense of profound significance. And again, you can experience this state every day. So according to Maslow, the characteristics of peak experiences are first, fulfillment. Peak experiences generate positive emotions and are intrinsically rewarding. Second, they're significant. Peak experiences lead to an increase in personal awareness and understanding and can serve as a turning point in a person's life. And third, peak experiences are spiritual. During a peak experience, people feel at one with all that is and often have a sense of losing track of time. Now, Maslow suggested that one of the best ways to understand peak experiences is to remember a wonderful experience that you've had in your life, like a moment of ecstasy or happiness. Being in love is one example of a peak experience, or when you're engaged in listening to or creating a musical experience. We have peak experiences during athletic events, and when we're having a spiritual experience, as in prayer or meditation. When we commune in nature, we have peak experiences. And when we achieve important goals, either on the personal or collective, we also feel this sense of elation. Now, Maslow found in his research that peak experiences are a shared commonality amongst all successful people, and they have them consistently. So, why do we want to have these peak experiences? Well, let's look at the neuroscience. Richard Davidson, who is a neuroscientist and professor of psychology and psychiatry at the University of Wisconsin, first met the Dalai Lama in the early 1990s. And then he began researching the neuroscience of meditation, mindfulness, and spiritual practices. He discovered that the wiring in our brains is not fixed. It's adaptable. Our brains are plastic, and they can change and evolve in a remarkably short period of time. Evidence suggests that we can actually train our mind and harness the power of neuroplasticity to transform our brain. We just need to be consistent with our practices to promote positive change. Now, in his research, Richard found that there are connections between our psychological well-being and our overall health and wellness. For example, he saw how the brain responds to negative self-talk and why that leads to depression. And he discovered that a lack of purpose and meaning predicts an early death. In fact, there was a recent study wherein people who were in their 60s had a low sense of purpose and were more than twice the likelihood of dying. They had more than twice the likelihood of dying within 5 years, as compared to the people who reported a high sense of purpose. So Richard developed a framework for understanding a healthy mind and brain, and he teaches people how to and why accessing these optimal brain states are important. And we're going to look at this. His framework includes these 4 pillars. Now, the first pillar is awareness. Awareness is the capacity to focus our attention and to resist distraction. And this also includes a quality that psychologists and neuroscientists call meta-awareness. Now, meta-awareness is knowing what our minds are doing. Have you ever had an experience where you were reading a book and then you realized that you had absolutely no idea what you just read? Well, this is an example of a lapse in meta-awareness. But the moment that we recognize we've been lost and we come back to what we're reading, that is a moment of meta-awareness. And we have reason to believe that meta-awareness is necessary for real transformation to occur in the mind and the brain, and therefore your life. The second pillar of a healthy mind is connection. Connection refers to those qualities which nurture harmonious interpersonal relationships, like the qualities of appreciation, kindness, compassion, and having a positive outlook on life. The third pillar for a healthy brain and state of mind is insight. This means insight into the narrative that we all have about ourselves. For people who have a negative narrative and negative beliefs about themselves, research shows this to be the prescription for depression. It seems obvious, but the neuroscience actually reveals this to be true. A healthy mind requires changing our relationship to this narrative. It's not about changing the narrative so much as it is about changing our relationship to it. So we can look at the narrative that we tell ourselves and see it for what it is. With compassion and love, we can change our relationship to ourselves and the narrative we tell ourselves. And finally, the last pillar for a healthy mind is purpose. This ties into what Abraham Maslow taught. Purpose means having a sense that our life is headed in a particular direction. Purpose is the self-actualization component at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And you can train your mind, and your brain will respond, thereby changing your life experience. And purpose is the ultimate goal. It doesn't take much to start these mechanisms in the brain to change your life either. We can cultivate a strong sense of purpose. We can reduce distractions and increase our awareness. We can increase productivity and focus with everyday practices like music, yoga, meditation, and prayer. Now, a little bit about the neuroscience of these peak experiences that we have when we're involved in a spiritual experience. When we're having a peak experience, there is transient hypofrontality in the brain, which means that the energy that is usually used for higher cognitive functions shifts to a heightened state of attention and awareness. Now, neuroscientist Charles Limb studied the brains of jazz musicians who were involved in playing music and having these peak experiences. And he used functional magnetic resonance imaging to discover that the dorsal lateral prefrontal cortex, which is an area of the brain known for self-monitoring, was deactivated. Now, self-monitoring is the voice of doubt, and that's your inner critic. And when this part of the brain goes quiet, doubt and fear are eliminated. The result is liberation, and we can act without hesitation. Creativity becomes more free-flowing, more spontaneous, and the combination lets us flow into these peak experiences. And in these states, the brain shifts from the waking beta waves of consciousness down into the much slower waves between alpha and theta. And alpha is that relaxed daydreaming mode that we slip into without thinking. And theta brainwaves show up when we're in REM sleep or even just before we fall asleep. And in that hypnagogic gap, we have these gamma spikes, which are those brilliant ideas, those visions, and the solutions to our problems that just come to us. Now, when we are having a peak experience, endorphins are released, as well as other pleasure-inducing, performance-enhancing neurochemicals. So, why is this important? Because when you know how to access a peak experience, you can literally utilize such states to change your brain. And the brain becomes very plastic when you are creative and spiritually attuned, as Richard Davidson has taught us. So when you change your brain, your life will change. And we can do this every day. So let's look at one way that we can cultivate a state of having a peak experience. Now, the Fillmores have always taught that the most important way to discipline the mind is to spend regular time in prayer and meditation, because therein we connect with divine mind and with truth principles. The root of meditation is metal or medical, which means to heal. And from this we understand that the purpose of meditation is to bring healing and wholeness. In meditation we find union in body, mind, heart, and soul. And here we connect with spirit, which is within. The revealing word defines meditation as continuous and contemplative thought, for realizing the reality of the absolute, for expanding the consciousness Christward, for bringing divine truth into realization, and for transforming the spirit, soul, and body. In a state of consciousness, we connect with divine mind, where we enter the secret place of the Most High and find stillness in communion with God. We lay a deep and strong foundation for spiritual understanding in meditation. And the Fillmores taught that meditation is an essential practice to know thyself, as is written over the door of the Greek temple of Apollo at Delphi. In meditation, we can know who and what we are, where we come from, what we are doing here, and where we are going. It allows us to see what is real, which is an inner spirit of joy. Here we realize the truth of who we are, which is not the temporal body, but the eternal soul. And the Fillmores advise that we begin each day with meditative thoughts and devote regular time every day to commune in the silence, for meditation truly changes our lives. Charles and Myrtle promise that meditation will open our consciousness to the omnipresent, all-knowing mind and affirm our unity with that mind until we know and realize through inner wisdom what to do. And when we meditate on spirit, the soul is open to higher thoughts, and we expand our consciousness. We establish union with our conscious mind and the superconscious mind. And both Charles and Myrtle often said, "Be still and know that I am God." Finally, meditation reveals our inherent divinity. It is written in Genesis that we are made in the image and likeness of God. In meditation, we can realize that we are spiritual beings and know our true nature, which is divine. In addition, the divine plan for our lives will be revealed. It is promised that when we cultivate a relationship with our soul, we understand the perfect relation of all things in the universe, and we will know glories and beauties of which we have never dreamed. Now, the divine self that you are seeks realization through you. Self-actualization and mastery require the body and mind to be re-known in the higher octave so that they can hold the amplitude of the higher octave. Your consciousness needs to be reformed to realize who you truly are. Each thought you hold becomes the agreement to what is in your experience, and thought itself becomes of God. But all things claimed in fear will hold you in fear. So the upper room is the higher octave that exists simultaneously as you. like the notes in a chord, which are in a higher relationship to truth and love. The true self announces the dominion of the divine self, and you come to know your true self in meditation. So let us affirm, I know who I am in truth. You can attune your vibration to the higher octave through your spiritual practices like meditation, prayer, yoga, and music. And to re-know anything is to lift it to the upper room. The divine self as you knows its sacredness. And the realization of the sacred self is the knowing of it in expression through you. And this claims the sacredness in all that you encounter. So in closing, the upper room is the kingdom of heaven when fully realized. It is where you can reside in a new consciousness. And your attunement to the upper room or the higher octave holds a new experience, which then becomes amplified. This is how you spread your wings and fly above the fluctuations of life. The aspect of the true self that knows all things as of God can recreate what you express on this plane. So use your spiritual practices to create a new consciousness, a new heaven and a new earth. And let us affirm one more time, I know who I am in truth. Let it be so. And so it is. And now let's take a few moments to find renewal in the health of our bodies and minds. We honor our bodies as the temple of our spirits. And we affirm that our minds are one with the divine mind. So if you would, gently close your eyes. Let's take a long, slow, deep breath in together. And then let that go. Feel yourself relax as you exhale. Allow your body to soften. Allow your mind to be still. And begin to melt into this moment. Become fully present and feel the presence as you bring your awareness to your heart center and allow your heart to open. As Myrtle Fillmore said, we are on the threshold of a new heaven and a new earth, a new consciousness. We are turning from the world of the outer and are coming into the wonderful place which is called the secret place of the Most High. And this is a time for spiritual connection when we merge our mind with God mind, allowing the way to be open, to lift us into a higher, purer, and more spiritual state. And as we enter, we close the doors of the outer senses and get away from the whirl of material activities. We feel a divine calmness, and we gain understanding of ourselves. So let us give ourselves to this time in meditation to find release and renewal, that we may rise as the Christ consciousness, the Buddha nature, the higher self from within. The upper room is where you can reside in a new consciousness. And this is the kingdom of heaven that we create here on earth. So allow these words to carry you into your inner sanctuary, where you are the pure essence of divinity. I turn away from the outer world that surrounds me to enter into the innermost world of my own mind, soul, and spirit. This is a higher state of being, of awareness, and of consciousness. A higher octave of attunement, that I may concentrate on the beauty, peace, and majesty of the Spirit that created me. For here within myself is the very power that created me, and the entirety of the earth, the planets, the galaxies, and all that is. This intelligence exists within me right here and right now. It is the supreme intelligence contained within all living things, the consciousness of life itself, the consciousness that breathes through me, that has healed my body when it is in need of healing. This consciousness maintains good health and balance throughout my body every day. The energy of this divine consciousness adjusts the rhythms and energies of every cell of my body, healing, bathing, and balancing each cell with life-giving, restoring energy that is the God source within me. For my body is the temple of God. It is the place where the divine intelligence dwells. And so it is God's good pleasure to provide me with health, to heal me when necessary. For I am an outer manifestation in form of the divine indwelling Spirit. And so let me sense and feel that this Spirit is cleansing my mind, healing, renewing, and transforming the consciousness within me. Throughout my mind and body, there is wholeness, completeness, beauty, and divinity. Everything is in a state of perfect balance and harmony. The entirety of my body, mind, and soul are in a state of peace, harmony, and oneness with the supreme power and majesty of universal life flowing within me, throughout me, and encircling me. And here I am as the great I am, which is within me. Peace, be still and know that I am God. Here within me, as the still small voice that echoes through my soul. I feel at peace with a sense of balance and harmony throughout my entire being. As if my body and mind are in a state of divine orchestration, orchestrated by the universe and the God source within me. I am one with the beauty, the peace, and the harmony of God's presence within me, cleansing, purifying, and harmonizing all of the energy frequencies of my body and mind. I am at peace, for I know who I am in truth. Divine Mother, Father, Spirit, Source of the universe that created me and lives within me, I rest in the harmony of the divine energy flowing through me. And for this realization today, and every day of my life, I give thanks. Let it be so, and so it is. And we will close with the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds me. And now affirm, I am the light. The love of God enfolds me. I am the love. The power of God protects me. I am the power. The presence of God watches over me. I am the presence. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. The Lord watches between me and thee while we are absent, one from the other, and helps us to know that we are one in spirit. And so it is. Blessed be. Namaste. Amen.